Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Leah Decodes. Listen, I'm going to tell you something that most men never learn until it's too late. A woman doesn't pull away because you're not good enough. She pulls away because she doesn't feel safe enough to want you the way you want her. And the moment a man tries to ask for intimacy directly without the right psychological groundwork, something inside her shuts down. You felt that wall before, haven't you? That cold shift? That hesitation, that I'm not sure, even when everything seemed perfect a moment earlier. So many men think they're being rejected, but the truth is far darker and far more empowering. Intimacy isn't something you ask a woman for. It's something you create inside her mind long before the moment happens. And the crazy part, most men do the exact opposite without even realizing it. They rush, they hint, they pressure with their energy. Even when they stay silent, they think they're being subtle. But a woman feels that tension like static in the air. A man's desire becomes a weight, not an invitation. And when she senses he's trying to get something instead of build something, her instinct doesn't soften, it shields. Because for a woman, intimacy isn't physical first, it's psychological, emotional, chemical. She needs to feel the kind of connection that pulls her toward you without you needing to ask, persuade, or negotiate. And that's the part men were never taught. Intimacy is not requested, it's triggered. But here's the twist that nobody tells you. Women don't choose intimacy when they feel chased. They choose intimacy when they feel chosen. Not by your words, not by your compliments, but by your presence. The silent, confident, grounded energy you give off when you aren't trying to get anything from her. A woman is drawn to the man whose desire is steady, not hungry. The man who creates emotional gravity, not pressure. If you want a woman to move closer emotionally, physically, intimately, you don't initiate through force or fear of rejection. You initiate through a psychological shift inside yourself that she immediately picks up on. The shift from trying to prove your worth to simply being a man she feels safe surrendering to. Think about this. When was the last time you were around a woman you wanted and your mind was cluttered with thoughts like, don't mess this up, don't say the wrong thing, maybe now's the moment, should I make a move? You weren't present, you weren't grounded. You weren't choosing her. You were performing for her. And women can sense that performance in your eyes, your breathing, your posture, even your silence. That's why so many men fail without understanding why. They speak the right words, but the energy behind those words betrays them. Now imagine this instead. Imagine she's sitting with you, maybe laughing, maybe talking softly, and you exude a calm confidence that says you're not rushing, not trying, not hoping, just being. Your voice is slower, your breathing is deeper, your attention is locked into her as if nothing else exists. You're not asking for intimacy, you're radiating an energy that makes her feel safe enough to desire it on her own. That's the psychological doorway, the one she chooses to walk through. And the moment a woman chooses something, she doesn't resist it, she welcomes it. This is how intimacy starts without rejection, not by asking, not by forcing, but by creating the emotional space where she moves toward you because it feels natural, safe, and exciting all at once. There's a moment every woman feels, but almost no man notices. It happens quietly, without drama, without warning. It's the moment she looks at you and decides whether you're a man she can open herself to or a man she needs to guard herself from. And trust me, this decision isn't based on how handsome you are, how much money you make, or how perfectly you try to impress her. It's based on something deeper, something she feels before she can explain it. A woman studies your energy long before she studies your intentions. She listens to the tone behind your words more than the words themselves. And if you understand what she's really scanning for, you can unlock a level of connection most men never get to experience. Here's the truth that would shock most men. A woman isn't afraid of intimacy. She's afraid of intimacy with the wrong man. She's afraid of the man who tries to take instead of build. She's afraid of the man who gets tense around desire because he doesn't know how to control it. She's afraid of the man who sees intimacy as a goal instead of a natural consequence of connection. When she feels any of that, even a trace of it, her body instinctively withdraws to protect itself. That withdrawal isn't personal, it's primal. And far too many men misinterpret that fear as rejection, when it's really a signal that she doesn't feel understood. But when a woman senses something different in you, when she senses that your presence is calm, patient, and impossible to rush, her entire psychology changes. Suddenly, she's not evaluating risk. She's exploring possibility. She's not wondering if you want something from her. She's wondering how deeply she could trust you, how intensely she could feel with you, how far she could let herself go without regret. Most men never create that shift because they're too focused on their own internal pressure. They're asking themselves, is this the right moment, when they should be asking, does she feel safe with me right now? And here's the part that feels like dark psychology, but is completely natural. When a woman feels truly safe around you, her mind becomes curious. That curiosity creates emotional tension. That tension becomes attraction, and that attraction creates the pathway to physical connection without you needing to ask, push, or risk rejection. You're not manipulating her. You're removing the barriers that stop her from wanting what she already feels. Imagine being the kind of man a woman leans into without thinking. The kind she touches first, the kind she initiates closeness with because your presence relaxes her fears and awakens her desire at the same time. That doesn't happen through lines, tricks, or steps. It happens through emotional grounding, through the energy of a man who isn't controlled by his desire, but guided by it. A man who knows that intimacy isn't a reward he must earn. It's a response he naturally draws out of her of. You've seen this kind of man before, the one who doesn't rush, doesn't stutter, doesn't panic. He listens more than he speaks. He observes more than he tries. And somehow women gravitate toward him without fully understanding why. That's because he mastered what most men ignore. He makes a woman feel understood without asking for anything in return. He makes her feel seen without placing pressure on her. He makes her feel chosen without needing validation back. And that combination is rare. It's magnetic. It's irresistible. This is the psychology that makes a woman desire intimacy on her own terms, terms that happen to align with yours without rejection, without awkwardness, and without ever needing to ask. There's something men rarely understand about women. Intimacy is not created in the moment you touch her. It's created in the moments before you even think about it. A woman becomes intimate in her mind long before she becomes intimate with her body. And the men who succeed with women effortlessly, consistently, aren't the ones who chase or impress. They're the ones who know how to activate her emotional imagination. If you can do that, she'll start wanting you before you even make a move. If you can't, she'll start pulling away the second she senses you're hoping for more. Women don't fall for pressure, they fall for presence. But here's the deeper truth. Even presence has layers. Most men show up physically, but mentally, they're scattered, anxious, or calculating. They're thinking of what to say, what to do, how to create the right moment. They're locked inside their own heads while trying to make her feel something, and she feels it, every bit of it. A woman can sense when a man is performing for a result instead of connecting for the experience. And nothing shuts down her desire faster than feeling like she's being led toward an outcome she didn't choose. But when a man is deeply present, when his mind is quiet, when his confidence isn't forced, when he isn't waiting for anything to happen, something shifts inside her. She stops evaluating, she stops predicting, she stops guarding, she starts feeling, and that feeling is the birthplace of intimacy. Because when a woman feels understood, heard, and emotionally safe, her body naturally begins to relax into attraction. She starts leaning closer. Her voice softens. Her eyes linger. Her breathing syncs with yours. These are not accidents. These are physiological signals that her mind is opening the door long before anything physical happens. And here's the part men never notice. Women initiate intimacy in subtle ways long before they ever say it out loud. She might play with her hair when she looks at you. She might adjust how she sits so she's closer even by an inch. She might glance at your mouth or touch your arm lightly or laugh a little too long at something you said. These aren't random behaviors. They're her subconscious testing. Is this a man I can feel safe with? Is this a man I can open up to? Is this a man who knows how to lead without pushing? If your energy is steady, grounded, and confident, those signals grow. If your energy becomes anxious, rushed, or anticipatory, they disappear. And that's the point most men ruin everything. They sense she's comfortable, and instead of staying present, they start planning their move. They break the emotional rhythm without realizing it. She feels the shift instantly, and the moment she feels you're forcing the pace, even with your silence, her longing evaporates. But when you stay calm, when you stay patient, when you stay connected instead of calculating, her desire builds on its own. Her mind becomes curious about you. Her imagination starts creating scenarios. Her body begins responding to a feeling she can't fully explain. And that's when intimacy becomes inevitable. Not because you asked, but because she wanted, because your energy removed her fear, because your presence awakened her desire, because you created a space where wanting you felt natural instead of pressured. This is the psychology that turns hesitation into closeness, and closeness into something deeper. There's a truth most men never realize because no one ever taught them how a woman's desire actually works. A woman doesn't choose intimacy based on opportunity. She chooses it based on emotional alignment. She needs to feel that the moment isn't accidental, rushed, or forced, but inevitable. Inevitable because the connection you created was strong enough, safe enough, and deep enough that moving closer to you feels like the most natural thing in the world. And here's what separates men who get rejected from men who draw women in effortlessly: the ability to create emotional inevitability. Most men think intimacy happens when the right time appears. They wait for signals. They look for hints, and they hope for perfect moments. But a woman's desire doesn't bloom from timing. It blooms from being understood. When a woman feels like a man understands her without her needing to explain, her guard melts. When she feels your attention without feeling observed, she relaxes. When she feels your presence without feeling pressured, she opens. And that opening isn't accidental. It's psychological. So, how do you create that shift? How do you become the man she instinctively wants instead of the man she politely avoids? The answer is subtle but powerful. You match her emotional pace while maintaining your masculine lead. That means you move in rhythm with her energy, not ahead of it. You're calm when she's hesitant. You're warm when she's shy. You're grounded when she's uncertain. And you're confident when she's ready. She's not looking for a man who tries to dominate the moment. She's looking for a man who knows how to guide it. And here's where most men fail. They try to jump from connection to physicality too quickly. They think chemistry is a switch they can flip. But for women, chemistry is a slow burn. It builds through micro moments. The way you look at her without staring, the calmness in your voice, the steadiness of your breathing, the way you react, not just to her words, but to her feelings. Women don't crave men who rush. They crave men who understand the tension they're creating together and know how to hold it. Because when you hold that tension without collapsing into nervousness or exploding into desperation, you become rare. You become the man who makes her feel something she can't get from anyone else. You become the man whose presence stays in her mind long after you leave. And women don't run from that feeling. They run toward it. Picture this. You're sitting with her, and the energy between you has shifted. She's laughing softly, leaning in a little closer, speaking in a quieter tone. She's opening, showing you pieces of her that she doesn't share easily. At that moment, most men get excited. They try to escalate. They break the magic. But the man who truly understands her doesn't rush. He stays present. He lets the moment breathe. He lets her feel the pull without trying to control it. And that patience paired with confidence is what makes her want to close the distance herself. Because here's the deepest truth. When a woman feels emotionally safe, psychologically understood, and subtly desired, she becomes the one who initiates intimacy. And when she initiates, rejection doesn't exist. She moves toward you not because she feels pressured, but because she feels connected. Not because she feels obligated, but because she feels drawn. And in that moment, intimacy becomes something she gives freely, not something you had to ask for. There is a moment, quiet, delicate, almost invisible, when a woman decides she wants to be intimate with you. Not because you asked, not because you hinted, not because you tried to impress her, but because something inside her recognizes something inside you. A presence, a softness wrapped in strength, a confidence without pressure. And that moment is sacred. Most men never experience it because most men never create the psychological environment that allows it to appear. A woman does not surrender her intimacy. She offers it, and she offers it only when she feels that her heart, her mind, and her body can trust the man in front of her. Trust that he won't rush her. Trust that he won't misunderstand her signals. Trust that he's not looking for a quick moment, but for a meaningful experience. When a woman feels that kind of trust, her desire becomes unfiltered. She becomes expressive. She becomes vulnerable. She becomes open in a way that has nothing to do with her body at first, and everything to do with how deeply she feels seen by you. Every woman has a hidden threshold, a point at which her desire overtakes her hesitation. And too many men never reach that threshold because they focus on the wrong things. They focus on strategy instead of sincerity, technique instead of presence, confidence instead of connection. But the man she truly wants isn't the one who has all the right lines. It's the one who has the right energy. She wants the man who listens without trying to fix, who looks at her without evaluating, who desires her without needing her. The man whose emotional world is steady, whose intentions are clean, whose presence calms the noise inside her. Because when her body feels safe and her mind feels understood, her desire grows in the dark, quietly until it becomes undeniable. She doesn't think about whether she should be intimate with you. She thinks about what it would feel like to get closer. She imagines your touch, your voice near her ear, the warmth of your chest, the way your hands would feel on her skin. And once that imagination activates, reality is only a breath away. This is why the men who never need to ask are the ones women talk about in secret. Women don't describe them as smooth or charming. They describe them as different. The man whose presence felt like gravity. The man who didn't chase her but drew her. The man who made her feel safe and wanted at the same time. That's not manipulation. That's emotional intelligence. That's psychological maturity. That's what makes intimacy natural instead of negotiated. So hear this clearly. You don't need tricks. You don't need lines. You don't need to force the moment. You only need to become the kind of man who turns a woman's uncertainty into comfort and her comfort into desire. Intimacy becomes effortless when you stop trying to get something from her and start creating something with her. When she feels your calm, your depth, your patience, and she decides on her own that you're the man she wants to let closer. And that moment when she chooses you is worth more than anything you could have asked for. Because intimacy given freely is the only intimacy that matters.